If you've never fished large lochs or lakes for trout before, or even if you've approached a new water and you're trying to find trout, it can be difficult to make that decision on where to start fishing or where to try to look for trout. But there are key things that you can do to find trout in any body of water. Let's have a chat about it and let's see if we can go through how to find trout anywhere in the world. Wherever trout are, they exhibit this behaviour and where they will lie in the water. Let's go through it. I'm going to split this video up into three separate things. Three things that all trout do no matter where they are in the world. Number one is food. There's nothing more that a trout loves to do than eat. That's its number one purpose in life, is to eat. Number two, we're going to talk about comfort and where trout like to sit in the water and what makes them comfortable, because that's one key thing in terms of where they will be in the water throughout the day as things change. That'll be the second thing, comfort. And number three is protection. What's going to protect them around them, because actually trout are quite sensitive and can be spooky to things that make them fearful, that flight or fight reaction. So number three is protection. We'll talk about food, their comfort, where they're comfortable, and protection. Number one, let's talk about food. Okay, so in terms of a trout's diet, there's not a lot that they don't eat. They will pretty much eat anything that is smaller than them in the water column. So that's all the way from fish, smaller fish and fry, to the tiniest midge and small buzzers and insects in the water. So when looking at a lake, one of the first things that I try and assess, whether it's for stocked fish or for wild fish or for fish that have been in the water a while so have started to become more wild, I look for where they might find food. In the water column or even across the lake, they will target areas that they can sit and eat. If they are eating, they're easier to catch as well. So even if you see a bunch of fish, they might not be eating, they're going to be more hard to catch than a small number of fish that are feeding somewhere. And the number one thing that makes that happen is if there's food there. So say you walk up to a brand new lake. Let's talk about the things that make that lake better for certain types of food. So number one is reeds. Reeds, any plant life under the water, generally sustains insects under the water. So that is how insects will prepare their eggs. They'll attach them to different forms of aquatic plant under the water. Any sort of sand, that also allows plants to grow under the water, or mud. Anything that's not just rocky and devoid of life. Anything that has life at it could potentially hold trout. So if you're going past a certain section of a lake and you see that there are reed beds or weeds, that generally will be a place that holds trout, purely from the aspect of food. There's going to be a lot of food there. So the trout are going to sit and eat there. It's going to be common for fish to be feeding there, and therefore they're going to be easier to catch. So if you're at a new lake, or even a lake that you fished a lot, and there are reeds at a certain bit, or there are weeds and you see them under the water, if it's clear water, it's very likely that there's going to be food availability there for trout. So that's number one thing. Anywhere that you can find aspects of food in the lake or loch, that's going to be a decent place for trout to lie and feed. But let's come on to the next thing, because sometimes there's feed in the water where trout can't be comfortable, and that means they probably won't be there. So let's chat about that. Number two is probably the most important one, I would say. And that's from a fisherman's perspective. So we want to look at where trout are comfortable. So say you walk up to your lake or loch and it is extremely warm. It's 20 degrees outside and it's sunny. Trout are not going to be comfortable in that weather right at the surface. Now, of course, there's anomalies to the situation. Sometimes you'll be able to see fish feeding, but it's unlikely that they'll be sitting in the top of the water in such a heat like that. So we can immediately rule out any places that have very shallow areas of water in such a heat. We can just go straight to areas that are deep or have contours. And contours are the thing we're going to chat about right now. That is something that makes fish extremely comfortable. They can patrol up and down a contour based on the temperature and oxygen availability of the water to see somewhere that they're comfortable. They're going to find a comfortable bit of water on contours and shelves in the water. That's a big feature and probably my most favourite feature to fish for trout because it's in pretty much every lake and loch in the world. There will be areas where the depth, it goes from an area of shallow to an area of deep. So those are areas that I would target trout within because they're going to be holding trout no matter what depth they're at. And to fish them is fairly simple as well. You don't have to be at the exact depth that the fish is at. You can just go along contours, searching, starting at the top of the contour and working your way down the contour of that shelf, trying to find fish. And it's highly likely that you will find fish. Let's take a quick example, actually. The Lake of Menteith. The Lake of Menteith is by far my favourite place to fish in Scotland. And one of the key aspects of this lake is its contours. It doesn't matter which part of the lake you're in. I will pretty much always try and fish shelves. Now, regardless of where you are, you're going to find fish that are comfortable there and more likely to feed on those shelves. And I'll show that on the map around here. You've got the likes of Gateside Bay. This bay has massive shelves near where a burn comes in. So there's some food availability right there, a burn coming right in. It's comfortable for the fish. There's a big contour right there. There's a reason why this is such a hot spot on the Lake of Menteith, because it hits all of the factors that fish like to stay within. Regardless of whether they're stocked or resident, these are the factors that bring trout to these certain places and where you can catch the most fish. So I hope you've got your notepad and pen out, because take down notes. And that's probably the only time I'll actually say that about my level of expertise, because no one should be writing down what I'm saying. Okay, number 3, and the last one, is protection. If you've ever been out fishing and you've seen birds of prey flying over the top of the water, this is why trout have protective instincts, because basically everything tries to eat them, including us, quite frankly. We are fishing for them. They are trying to be protected from predators such as us, such as birds. So they need aspects of a lake or loch to protect them from predators. Now, another thing that we talked about earlier on was weed beds. That is exactly the sort of feature that allows fish to have protection. They can swim in and out of those reed beds and be protected. So that's one thing that is key for protection, is any sort of structure. Now, contours don't provide any sort of structure, but they do give the fish protection in terms of having an area to shoot into. So if they are being hunted by the likes of pike or anything under the water, a contour gives them a shelf to run up and basically try and avoid predators under the water. So that's another form of protection. But if you're on a lake or loch and you see something that you actually, do you know what, that looks like a place that's fishy. Sometimes if you get a fishy vibe from something, and that's normally because it's hitting these 3 factors. As a quick aside, I've been working with my fishing flies recently with Dale and Tracy over there in Grangemouth, and they've had a great idea to set up a discount code for anyone that watches these videos and wants to buy anything from their website or the shop. So if you use code VICEFLIES between now and the middle of May, I'll put the date in the description of this video, they're going to be doing a giveaway for a box of flies. So if you buy an order for anything that you might need from there with the code VICEFLIES, then you'll be entered into that giveaway and you could win a box of flies worth up to £290. So give that a little look, guys, and if you buy anything from there, then use that code and you'll be entered into that giveaway straight away. Now, it would be super interesting to get everyone's thoughts in the comments on where you like to fish on lochs. Is it the deep water, contours only like me, reed beds? I like to see a bunch of chat on this because some of the videos have had such good comments on them recently. I really enjoy the comments that we get. So let's have a chat on where your favourite spots are to fish on lochs and lakes. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and tight lines. Catch you in the next one.